With Power World being the biggest conversation in gaming right now, and people everywhere talking about it stealing from Pokemon and Pokemon stealing from other creations, I was left thinking about a certain Pokemon copycat, Digimon. If you're as old as me, or at least in the same age range, you remember a time in the mid 90s to early 2000s where there was an explosion of Pokemon like cartoons, be it Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Zatch Bell, Bakugan, Yokai Watch, Monsters Rancher, Beyblade, and many others. There was a lot of studios in Japan wanted to capitalize on the success of Pokemon in the West. Among the names mentioned, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, and Beyblade were the biggest hits. All three with their own thing that separated themselves from Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh being a card game, not a game about collecting monsters. Beyblade having, battling spin tops. But Digimon was closer to Pokemon, and Pokemon stands for Pocket Monsters, while Digimon stands for Digital Monsters. They both have monster evolutions, with Digimons being different in the sense that when Digimon evolved, it always reverts back to a base form. Digimons age and die, and when they die, they revert to their hatchling form. One has trainers, the other has tamers. There are tons of similarities between these two, and even way back when there was debates between kids in class that like Pokemon versus the kids in class that like Digimon, with the often clap back from the Pokemon kids being that Digimon is just a rip-off Pokemon. I was and still am a Digimon fan. I prefer the Pokemon. I grew out of Pokemon after like the first movie. I still played the handheld games up until like Pokemon Black, but I avoided the show and the card game pretty much entirely. Yu-Gi-Oh got my attention when it came to the latter aspect. But as a kid, I was more drawn to Digimon over Pokemon. The Digimon spoke human languages, the tamers had real life problems, the story has serious themes and tones. It felt like a show for big kids, while Pokemon seemed like it's for little kids, which, in a way kind of hurt Digimon, not Pokemon. Nintendo is never shy about their target audience. Digimon didn't seem like a kind of game where you want your 6-year-old, really, watching or playing the game. Digimon didn't have the plot armor Pokemon had, and you had to really watch the show to see the story develop, because it wasn't going to be, tie for 20 years. The characters aged, became teens, then adults, new tamers were introduced, and so on for each season. Digimon was a more dynamic show. And let's not get started on the Digivice toys. Sure, they are just Tamagotchis, but it's Digimon. There are two rounds where no matter what, Digimon could not compete with Pokemon, the card game and the video games. The card game was an uphill battle. Only Yu-Gi-Oh! Magic the Gathering videos around Pokemon in the card game aspect, and Magic is older than both. Getting back to Digimon though, why has Digimon not been able to keep pace with Pokemon in gaming? Yes, like the card game, it's an uphill battle, but gaming is an easier, place to gain ground than the card game. It's not like Digimon has had bad games, but Digimon hasn't had standout games. I think what has held Digimon back for all these years is the same thing that has held back a lot of anime licensed video games. Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco is a publisher for almost every major anime with a video game, whether it's Digimon, Sword Art Online, Dragon Ball, Gundam, Naruto, One Piece, hell, even Sailor Moon. Bandai Namco usually has its name on it. And more often than not, Bandai Namco published anime games are lackluster regurgitations with a hit there, here and there. Games that just feed off nostalgia for the most part. Digimon isn't the only Bandai Namco license that just seems to not get a major hit. Gundam and One Piece still are waiting for a hit. Sort of games have cult followings like Fatal Bullet and Alization Liquors. I'm probably pronounced that wrong. Oh well. But they're not big hits. Dragon Ball and Naruto are the titles that are just too big to fail, even though their entries are pretty much like Call of Duty and annual sport games, as in, same game every time a game comes out with just some small mechanical changes. In that you'll turn to Goku Vegeta 80 times and now make up most of your player roster. There have been 20 years of Digimon games, and only maybe 5 games are actually any good. The community almost universally agrees that Cyber Sleuth and Hacker Memory are the best Digimon games, with it being a big drop after that to just okay games and bad games. The most recent game, Digimon Survive, has some small hype behind it, but it released with a whimper. It's a game that basically is a graphic novel, so it would be only of interest to those people who are into light novels and graphic novels in general. The game has a very mature tone with 50 hours of narrative gameplay and tactical RPG encounters. This game will remind you a lot of Persona. So if you're in Persona, you love this game. And then there is the Digimon World titles. which are also looked at positively, but again, opinions vary from world game to world game, with the key feature of these games being you have to hatch, raise, and take care of Digimon, which might not be of interest to some gamers. A lot of Digimon's failures to take off can be looked at marketing, quality, and constantly changing its formula. Digimon games tend to look low budget, and most of them, unless directly connected to the sub-series, play entirely different from the other. Even the few I mentioned in this video, Cyber Sleuth, World Next Order, and Survive are mechanically, narratively, and gameplay wise very different games tackling different genres of video games. Hell, there's even a Digimon MMO to throw another different formula into the mix. This matters a lot. Pokemon's formula has never changed from the Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green era to Generation 8 with Sword and Legends of Arceus and Scarlet. So from 1996 until 2019, where Pokemon became more an open world, became more a third person experience, as it is now with Arceus and Scarlet, Pokemon games mostly stuck to the exact same formula year to year. This allowed players to be hooked on Pokemon and know what to expect every time a new game come out. After you've played, Red and Green, you know exactly what Crystal was going to be. You know what Silver was going to be. You knew what Emerald and Ruby were going to be. You knew what Black and White were going to be. You knew what Diamond and Pearl were going to be. Until the formula changed with Sword, Arceus, and Scarlet. Digimon fans couldn't get hooked in the same way because every Digimon game was something different, entirely different, and you couldn't get attached to a style for Digimon. As I said before, Digimon when I was young was looked at as a big kids anime. Pokemon, on the other hand, has always maintained being a kids friendly game. Parents are more likely to buy their kids Pokemon games over any other anime style. Digimon marketing wise has to rely on nostalgia to be relevant and sell copies. It's not really getting new fans. Because of all these things I mentioned in this video so far, Digimon has never been able to gain momentum in any aspect, whether it's the show, is failed card game, is toys, and is video games. In reality, Digimon should have been what Power World is right now in terms of popularity and success. Bandai Namco should have cashed in on how much people are tired of Game Freak and recent failures with their Pokemon games. Bandai should have made the best possible Digimon game during this time frame when it comes to the failed Pokemon games. A game that is fully marketed, invested in to be a multi-platform AAA game that is the greatest Digimon game one can muster up. What Bandai Namco should do is, look at what existing hardcore fans complain about. Look at what they praise. Look at what they wish for and find a middle ground with the fan base. Digimon needs more uniformity. Digimon games are lacking, and with a lot of what I've mentioned in this video, it's no surprise that it never took off in gaming the way Pokemon has. Even the game considered to be the best Digimon game by the fan base, Cyber Sleuth has elements that can be a major turnoff for core gamers. The prologue takes almost an hour, which wouldn't be bad if that hour wasn't 98% dialogue and 100% combat. Personally, I'm okay with it, but a lot of gamers won't be into that. You spend a lot of time at the beginning of the game just sitting and watching dialogue, and that can be a huge turnoff. Again, comparing it to Pokemon games, those games start with a quick intro, you pick your gender, another quick bout of dialogue, you pick a Pokemon, and you battle Pokemon. In the earlier games, you wouldn't even get Pokeballs for a bit. It took a little longer to get to that point. Whereas in later games, you get them as soon as you get your first Pokemon damn near. But generally, you always, or this old games or the newer games, you would already have, face your first generally within the same time span that you're doing the prologue of Cyber Sleuth. Maybe a franchise like Digimon is just hard to make a game around. I'm not a developer, so I don't know how easy or not it is to adapt into a game, but that could be the issue with Digimon. It could just be a game franchise or an anime entity that's just hard to adapt into a video game. But if you're like me and a fan of Digimon, you see all this Power versus Pokemon nonsense, and you just wish Digimon was successful enough to get this much publicity that Power was getting. Hell, Digimon is barely competing with Temtem, let alone Pokemon. Temtem sold more copies than Digimon Survive. Solely comparing Steam charts, since those are the only accurate available numbers, Temtem has sold over 1.1 million units, while Digimon Survive has sold over 83,000. Temtem has 594 active players at the time of recording this video, while Digimon Survive has 59. 59. Even the game, again considered to be the best Digimon game, Cyber Sleuth hasn't done as good as Temtem, with only 319,000 units sold and 335 active players at the time of recording this video. Again, compared to Temtem's 1.1 million units sold and 594 active players. So how could we expect Digimon to finally compete with Pokemon when it can't even compete with a Pokemon clone like Temtem? I don't know what Digimon will do. I don't even think Bandai Namco cares. Digimon chances probably died years ago. And any game it gets now is just budget projects for hardcore fans to play. I don't know what the future is. I don't know what we can look forward to. I don't know if Bandai will ever, just go full guns blazing with a Digimon game that's on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, and they go all out with good writing, good voice acting, and give people the Digimon game that they want. Maybe at that point they would get a big hit, and maybe that big hit will lead into this domino effect of Digimon becoming a top gaming franchise that rivals Pokemon. Because again, right now when it comes to this genre of game, there's an opening, because again, people on PC can't play Pokemon unless they own a Switch. People on Xbox can't play Pokemon unless they own a Switch. People on PlayStation can't play Pokemon unless they own a Switch. So there's 3 platforms for Bandai Namco to cash in on people who want to play Pokemon games. Power World proved people want to play Pokemon games on these platforms. And Digimon is a Pokemon game when it comes to, its identity. It was the original Pokemon copycat. It's better than Pokemon in my opinion, but also the original copycat. And with Game Freak and Nintendo putting out these unoptimized, horrible games that even its own fan base is tired of, there is an opening for Bandai Namco to just cash in. Even after this entire video and after the hype behind Power World ends and the honeymoon phase is over, there's still going to be that gap that Bandai Namco can cash in on and just make the best possible Digimon game that they can. I hope they do. As a fan of Digimon, I want to see Digimon succeed. I say this a lot when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh! I always wanted to be like a great Yu-Gi-Oh! Game where everyone's playing it. It's like an MMO where you make your own character, you get to experience like an amalgamation of all the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Games, like Sacred Cards and whatnot. Have this good story experience while also doing all these other MMO things, battling against other players around the world. I want that with Digimon too. Not necessarily an MMO, but like I just want a great Digimon game that also has multiplayer where you can play with your friends and experience, player versus player combat. But anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Leave any thoughts you have in the comment section below. I've been your boy, Anubis the Gamer Archer. I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Link below for my Twitch stream. If you want to pop me on Twitch, I'm a very chatty streamer. So, you said something in chat, I'm going to reply to you. We can have a conversation about whatever you want to have a conversation about. Usually like an anime kind of person. But yeah, y'all stay safe. Y'all be kind to one another. It's free to be kind. I'll see you when I see you. I'm out of here. Deuces.